All right, go ahead.
All right. So what is a special needs trust? A special needs trust, sometimes referred to as a supplemental needs trust, is a living legal entity that enables assets to be held on behalf of someone with a disability without affecting their eligibility for means-tested public benefits such as Medicaid or SSI. The assets held in a special needs trust must be managed by a trustee and used for things not covered by a received public benefit. Special Needs Trust owns the assets contributed to it and can provide for supplemental expenses that increase the beneficiary's quality of life. It then ceases to exist upon the beneficiary's death. So the Developmental Disabilities Endowment Trust Fund program was created to help address the lifelong assistance needs of individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. The trust came about as a result of a coalition of families advocating to the legislature for their DD individuals. The Washington State Legislature granted a $5 million endowment to get the program started. The endowment provides the funding for the state NACHA fees incentive offered by the trust. The state NACHA fees is just one of the benefits of this program. Besides the NACHA fees, the program allows the individual to save for funds to use in the future without a negative impact on their continued eligibility for benefits and services, such as SSI and Medicaid. There's an asset limit to what the individual can have in resources before a reduction or a loss of eligibility. Once funds are placed into the trust, they no longer count as their asset. So eligibility for the DDETF is dependent on meeting 3 criteria. The individual must qualify for DDA services and have been evaluated and determined to be developmentally disabled. They must be a current resident of Washington State at the time of enrollment, and they must be under the age of 65. The age restriction is in place because once the individual turns 65, contributions to the trust are not protected under federal law, so funds deposited after 65 would continue to count as their asset. Eligibility is determined by meeting the state's standard definition of developmentally disabled. As a state-partnered program, the trust is administered by the Washington State Department of Commerce. The trustee is the DDETF's governing board. The governing board sets the policy for the program and is made up of 7 members. It is required at all times that at least 4 governing board members are family members of people with DD. Currently, the majority of the board have a family member enrolled and are very invested in the success of the program. The Arc of Washington is enlisted to serve as the trust manager. A requirement of pooled special needs trust is that the funds contributed to the trust are to be invested. For this program, that is handled by the Washington State Investment Board. As trust manager, the Arc of Washington provides the operational services of the trust. From enrollment to contributions and disbursements, the Arc of Washington are the point of contact on matters of the trust and the functions of the trust. When enrolling, the first consideration is what type of account to open. The 2 accounts offered are the third-party individual trust account and the self-settled individual trust account. This will be the first question asked when we are contacted with the prospective enrollment. The factor which determines the appropriate trust to open is where the money is coming from. With a third-party trust account, only contributions from anyone other than the beneficiary can be accepted. For example, this would be the type of trust to open when doing estate planning or for loved ones who intend to leave funds to the beneficiary in their will. It is important to word it to not state the beneficiary by name, as doing so will cause the inherited funds to be considered theirs. First-party money entitled to the beneficiary cannot be deposited into a third-party trust. The self-settled trust account can only accept funds that belong to the beneficiary or the individual with a disability. This type of account would be open due to lawsuit settlements, inheritances left directly to the beneficiary, etc. Many beneficiaries that work put their earnings into this type of trust. Currently, we are seeing an increase in enrollments due to the individual not getting out into the community as often, who work or are receiving unemployment and need a place to protect these funds, but still qualify for their benefits and services. One thing to be aware of with the self-settled trust is what happens to the remaining funds when the beneficiary passes away. It is a federal requirement of Social Security law that states that when the beneficiary passes away, the state is entitled to recover dollar for long-term care services, Medicaid match funds, and others. We always caution folks that it's highly unlikely that there will be any funds remaining after the state recovers or submits their bill if the individual has been on benefits for any length of time. So to recap, the two trust types operate exactly the same. The differences are where the money comes from and what happens to the funds when the beneficiary passes away. One of the first things everyone wants to know about the trust is, how can the funds in the trust not be used? When the beneficiary is receiving the basic SSI benefit, the funds in the trust may not be used to pay for shelter costs, such as rent, heat, power, water, sewer, garbage, and groceries or food, because that is what the individual Social Security benefit is supposed to pay for. On this slide, you will see a few examples of some typically dispersed for items. While these are typical items, we're seeing more general well-being bills, such as dental and guardianship renewals. We're seeing an increase in future planning, such as prepaid burial requests as well. So there are some incentives to participate in the program. I'm going to back up just a bit. When the program was created back in 1999 by the state legislature, the program received a $5 million endowment to be used as a match. We call it the state match. Currently, the program is offering a match on the fees incurred by participating in the program. There is a one-time $600 enrollment fee. It is a fee you pay to open the account. The program is currently matching this fee at 100%. So you pay a $600 fee to open the account, but the account will open with a $600 balance in state matching funds. So in essence, that fee goes back to benefit your individual. There are two annual fees charged to the account. The first I'll talk about is the tax preparation and filing fee. We have a CPA firm that completes the tax documents for the trust and files a return on behalf of the trust. They currently charge $75 per account, and the program is matching that fee at 100%. There is an annual management fee charged to the trust accounts. It's 1% of the trust balance, and it's charged after 1 year of participation and yearly thereafter. The program is matching back the first $75 of that fee. The management fee has a minimum of $75 and a maximum of $750. So if the account has a balance of $7,500 or less, it is a free account to be managed because the program would be matching back 100% of the fees. As an example, if you had an account that had $8,000 in it, it would only cost $5 a year. So it's a very cost-effective way of having a special needs trust. So in order to receive the match on fees, there are some requirements. The program requires that you contribute the equivalent of $25 a month for a 3-year vesting period, or $900, in order for an account to vest. This is a time and financial requirement. At the end of 3 years, there must be a total of $900 in private contributions in order for an account to meet the vesting requirement. That can be done on a monthly basis or in a larger lump sum. For example, say your first contribution was $100. Contributions always roll forward to meet that minimum requirement. So it would roll forward and meet 4 months of the minimum requirement. Another example, if you contributed $900 on day 1, the account still has to wait for 3 years before it will vest. During this 3-year period, the account matches fees as if it is already vested. The matching funds are not available until the account meets the vesting requirements. A point of contact will receive quarterly statements. 2 totals are reported on those statements. The private funds or contributions, and the state matching funds. On the statement, you will see the state matching funds accumulating. However, those funds are not available for withdrawal until the account vests after 3 years. They show on statements, but if you take a withdrawal prior to the 3-year vesting date, it comes totally from your private contributions. If you take a withdrawal after vesting, it will come proportionately from state matching funds and private contributions. And by proportionately, I mean whatever the ratio of the two balances are. So if the state matching funds are 30% of the total account balance and private contributions are 70%, a withdrawal would come 30% from state matching and 70% from private contributions. Also, be aware that the balance of state matching money upon the death of the individual reverts back to the program to be used as matching funds for other individuals. Each beneficiary may have only one account that qualifies for the match. We have about 100 individuals who have two accounts, both the Trust 1 and Trust 2. Only the first account opened qualifies for the match on fees. Contribution and disbursement plans can be tailored to your individual's needs. You contribute whenever you choose. However, if you don't meet the minimum requirement during the vesting period, you probably will receive a letter. This is not a punitive program. The goal is for every eligible account to vest and qualify on the match on fees. Our fees are competitive over other managed trusts. There are various ways to set up a special needs trust, but you'll find that this is the most economical. We did a survey of our fees against managed trust programs across the country, and our fees were equal or in many cases less than the other programs, and none of them offered a match on their fees. We want to point out that the funds are invested and that this is not a savings account. As with any investment, there is the potential for gains or losses. The Washington State Investment Board offers a 30-year history of successful investments for the state at a very low cost. The funds are invested in the Vanguard Admiral Balance Fund, and all funds are conservatively invested for long-term gain. So I don't know if any of you are aware of the ABLE program. They are a very similar program to ours. We're going to talk about the differences between the two for a moment. The beneficiary's residential situation and lifestyle will help inform which type of account fits their needs best. Establishing accounts with both programs is allowed and offers a more complete range of covering all of the beneficiary's possible expenses. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Are you going to do a one-time contribution, or will this be ongoing? Are they competent to run their own account? Will there be any guardianship or estate planning needs? The intensity of services and support needed? Will it be family-based or provider-based services? And would you prefer a savings account or a spendings account? So both programs protect resources. Money in ABLE or the trust accounts are excluded from SSI, Medicaid, HUD, HCA, or SNAP eligibility determinations and monthly benefit calculations. Neither program will exclude payments from wages, bonuses, inheritances, pensions, settlements, commissions, annuities, alimony, child support, SSI, SSDI, the VA or ISM from being counted as income. Both programs require funds to be utilized for the sole benefit of the account holder. Neither program should be used to replace any services or benefits the account holder is receiving. Both programs are administered by the Washington State Department of Commerce. Neither programs will prevent the need to report account activity to interested agencies. So the trust requires the beneficiary to be a DDA client. They don't necessarily need to be receiving benefits from the DDA, but they do need to be eligible. It requires the trustee to manage the funds, and the beneficiary does not have direct access to those funds. With an ABLE account, you must meet the disability criteria set by Social Security. Account owners have direct access to the funds unless an approved authorized agent is in place. We do not report account activity to SSA, IRS, or the courts. That's the responsibility of the primary representative. Allowable disbursements are towards the beneficiary's supplemental expenses, no basic living expenses. With the ABLE accounts, the account activity is reported to SSA and the IRS, and all funds should be spent on qualified disability expenses, or there is potentially a 10% IRS tax. With our program, the trustee provides oversight and management of the funds in the account. The primary representative who is chosen for the account is our point of contact and is authorized by the primary donor, typically the individual who is disabled. With ABLE, the account owner is in control of the account funds. The account owner has ability to spend the money regardless of whether it is eligible as a qualified disability expense. Our program does require the investment of funds, which again is managed by the Washington State Investment Board, and there is only one investment strategy. You cannot opt out. However, there is no contribution limit, and there is no limit on disbursements except again for food and shelter costs for those individuals who are on Social Security. With the ABLE accounts, they offer 3 different investment options and 1 savings options. Your contribution limit is $17,000 annually, and the first $100,000 in the account is disregarded for Social Security income. For non-SSI recipients, the balance limit is $500,000. So in conclusion, people ask, why choose this program? What does this program offer versus going through an attorney and other privately managed trusts? The Arc of Washington has been advocating for people with developmental disabilities since 1936. It's what we do and it's what we know. Our population is people with developmental disabilities, their families, caregivers, and other supportive persons. So this gives us an informed perspective that a bank or an attorney office would not have when it comes to the needs of people with developmental disabilities. When you have a managed trust such as this, part of our responsibility is to stay on top of new disability laws and make sure our documents are amended and up to the scrutiny of Social Security and other government agencies. Because the last thing you want is the trust to be considered an asset or a resource and impact an individual's benefits. The trust offers this security. The trust provides its beneficiaries an opportunity to participate in the community in a way that they might not be able to otherwise. We have a lot of individuals who don't have family involvement anymore, and the trust has allowed them to save funds to be able to do activities that they could not afford themselves to do if kept on the SSI asset limit. We want our beneficiaries to use their trust to live a full, dignified, and comfortable life, and to have their families and loved ones feel assurance that the funds they have set aside for that are protected. So, what's the next step? This is our enrollment process. The first step is setting up a trust is confirming eligibility for the program, obtaining documented proof. We need something in writing from the Developmental Disabilities Administration that shows your individual has been evaluated by the agency and determined to meet their definition of developmentally disabled. That can be as simple as a letter you already have that states who your case manager is. We just need something with a DDA letterhead that shows your individual is a client. Next is to request the legal document from us. In the legal packet, you'll find the cover letter, instruction sheet, and the joinder agreement, which you will fill out, and then a copy of the master trust document. The master trust document is what governs these accounts, and the joinder is what personalizes it for your individual. The joinder is a fill in the blank. It's not going to ask you anything you probably don't know. However, it can be confusing because of the terminology used. We are available by phone and in person to go through this document page by page if you have any questions. All you have to do is fill it out, sign it, and have it notarized. Then send it to us with a proof of DDA and a $600 enrollment check. We sign and notarize it on our end, and a copy of the trust is sent back to you. Sometimes we hear the question, how long does it take to set up a trust? And the answer is it does not take long at all. If an enrollment packet was received and everything in it was correctly filled out, we could open the trust the same day the packet comes in. Typically, the only delay is because we have to call and ask questions. So there's our contact information. You're more than welcome to go online to our website. We do have all of our forms and information up there. However, I do recommend if you would like to sign up for our program, contact me. My email's up there, dylan@arcwa.org. I can send you a fillable PDF of the joinder agreement. Or if you like, I can send you a physical copy with any other information you may need. And that is all.
All right, so that was a lot of information. There was a question in the chat about type 1 versus type 2. And if I can scroll up,
Let's
let's see.
First one I see are what are the fees associated with the trust fund and does
Oh,
it
okay,
earn
yeah.
interest? So again, there's the $600 enrollment fee, which is matched into the account once vested. The annual $75 tax preparation fee, again, matched back into the account once vested. And the 1% management fee, which is a minimum of 75 and a maximum of 750, and 75 of that is matched back into the account. Let's see what else. Can more than one person can contribute to the trust one? Yes, absolutely. Anybody can contribute to the trust one except for the beneficiary. So, let's say mom or dad opens it. Grandma, grandpa, friends, family, it doesn't matter. As long as it's not the beneficiary's money, as long as it's not coming from them, anybody else can contribute into a trust one account. Let's see. State matching. So there was potentially going to be the end of the state matching funds. Thankfully, that is not the case. We are still matching. As I said before, that's always subject to change in the future. That's up to our governing board. But as of right now, and anytime in the near future, yes, we are still matching those funds. Let's see. All right. Oh, you're very welcome. And let's see, yeah. So you don't have to wait 3 years to use the funds. Um, there's a 3-year waiting period for the state funds. So at the 3-year mark from the first contribution, all of those state matching funds will be available to you so long as there is still $900 in the private contributions. So if you put in $900, wait that 3 years, all those matching fees will be available to you at that time.
But you'll
Thank you.
still have
That makes sense. Yeah.
you'll still have access to your own money if you need it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we kind of view it as, like I said, we view it as, you need at least that accumulating $25 a month. So let's say um, at the end of year one, you should have contributed at least $300 and you've contributed $400. We consider that $100 available to you because we want to keep you on track to reach that $900 3-year vesting period. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Hi, uh, my name is Nancy. Okay, I got it unmuted. It takes too long to type my questions, so I'll just ask it. Um, so can the contributions be set up through automatic monthly direct deposit?
So they can, but not through our program. Basically, you have to set up a bill pay with your bank.
Okay,
So we have to have a physical check simply because we have money coming from so many different sources, and
okay,
we enter everything in manually into the accounts. Um,
okay,
so if you set up a bill pay with your bank, they can send us a physical check for an amount of your choosing at any time of your choosing. And we actually have quite a few individuals who are set up for monthly payments into their trust accounts.
okay. Along that line, can withdrawals be also done through automatic, do it automatically every month. Like, for example, my sons have, so I have two sons who both have special needs and they go to play dates 2 to 3 play dates a week and they spend some money for that. So for example, if they need like maybe $300 per month for the play dates, can the withdrawal be set up automatically too?
So with the ABLE program, basically you have essentially a debit card where you can take money out as needed. Again, it needs to be for a qualifying expense,
Okay.
but it gives you a little bit more leniency with that. With our program, you would need to basically submit receipts showing what the money was spent for, and then we would reimburse you for those items. Um,
Oh,
or if you, let's say you were purchasing a piece of furniture, you could get an invoice for that, for that item, and then we could make a check out directly to the entity you're purchasing from. But we do require receipts on all purchases.
okay, that makes sense. So the parents would basically pay for the expenses first, and then we make the request for us to be reimbursed, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, okay,
And there's a little form that you'll receive if you do sign up. You'll get a packet with a bunch of information. You'll get disbursement request forms. You can put as many requests onto one form as you like. Just again, provide receipts or some sort of documentation. And then we can either reimburse you or make the checkout to where you're making the purchase from.
okay. Is there a minimum amount to open the account?
So besides that $600 enrollment fee, there's no minimums or maximums at any point in time. Again, you want to contribute at least the 900 over the 3 years, the first 3 years.
Okay,
But yeah, you could put in $20, you could put in $1,000, any amount at any time.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see a couple of questions here. What are the
Can
qualifications of the ARC investment team? The monthly, yearly accounting reports. So we do again, all of the money contributed is invested by the Washington State Investment Board. Um, we do quarterly statements and we do an annual report every year. And the everything that's invested is invested in that Vanguard index that I mentioned before. Um, oh, and actually, we did just get done with our our audit for the year. So yes, we do get audited annually. We pay for that. We hire out a third party agency. And yes, we do have an annual audit, and thankfully, yes, we have always come out 100%. So, um, and yeah. So if you have any questions about the investment, I would Google the Washington State Investment Board. They're going to be the ones to contact as far as more specifics about the actual investments.
okay. Can I ask a question again? Um, as far as the Medicaid recovery program, would Trust One, is it under this Medicaid recovery program, after they passed and the state would recover whatever Medicaid expenses they incurred?
Yeah, so that's only applicable to the self-settled trust, the trust two. If it was a third-party trust, if the money was coming from outside sources, that's not subject to the state recovery. And there's a place in the joinder where you can designate where you would want that money to be left. When the individual dies, any money that they've accumulated in state matching funds, that does go back into the trust to pay for future individual state matching fees. But any private contributions that remain in there upon the time that they pass away, it'll go to whoever you've designated to leave it to.
Okay, thank you.
Can an individual have a trust two and a trust one?
Yeah, we have quite a few actually who have both. And again, it's mostly because, you know, especially if people are leaving a large inheritance, they want to make sure that money is protected and not going to go back to the state when the person passes away. The only downside with having both those trusts is only the first one opened gets the match on fees. So if, let's say, someone's opened a trust two and now they've decided that, you know, they're going to have a trust one for a future inheritance, we always recommend to not put in any contributions until the person passes away, because the fees don't kick in until the first contribution. So you could open the trust one now, there would be the $600 enrollment fee, and then the account would just sit in place for, you know, whenever the time comes. And there's no minimum or maximum withdrawal. We do 12 free disbursements a year. After that, it's $12.50 per disbursement. And when I say disbursement, that doesn't mean 12 items. That just basically means 12 checks. So you could, you know, you could take one of those disbursement request forms, put, you know, all the, you know, the movies that the movies you've taken them out to, airfare, hotel rooms, you know, a laundry list of things. And then that one check would count as one disbursement. Any other questions?
For trust one, for whatever reason, can we stop or close the account or discontinue the contribution? For example, loss of job, you know?
So it's an irrevocable trust, so you can't you can't just get the money back. Um, However, you can spend it down if you want to. If on qualifying expenses, you could, you know, just keep making disbursement requests and spend the account down.
Okay.
Um, and again, there's no minimum or maximum as far as what you can put in. So if you're, you know, say a third party trust, you're putting in money regularly, and then you hit a point where you know you can't afford to do that at the moment, you don't have to make continued deposits. You can just leave it be until the time comes when you'd like to continue to fund it again.
Thank you.
So for a little while, the chat was going faster than I could follow. And if your question did not get answered, either type it or speak up. I was trying to keep on top of it all, but I don't know. I don't see anyone else with a question.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as the matching fund, the state matching fund, um, so there was this, yeah, Dylan said that as of right now, it will not be discontinued, but why was it considered in the first place, you know, to stop the matching fund?
So, so like I
And
said before, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Um, so like I said before, we were initially, I mean, 20 years ago, given that $5 million grant to match the fees. And over time, it's been used. And so it was getting down to the point where we weren't sure if we were going to have any money in that particular fund to continue doing that. That being said, with the sort of the uptick in the stock market and just more grant money coming in, I don't see it ending. Certainly not in the near future. I believe I think it was over a year ago that they were considering that, and it's never been mentioned again at the board meeting. So at least for right now, that match is still in place. And any matches that accumulate, like let's say theoretically one day it did stop, the matches that accumulated up until that point, you would still retain.
So aside from the $600 fee, I must have missed the slide, but what else will be matched by the states?
Oh, there's an annual $75 tax preparation fee that's matched back by the state, all $75. And there is a 1% management fee with a minimum of $75 and a maximum of 750. And 75 of that is matched back by the state. So again, if you have an account with $7,500 in it, it's an absolutely free account to have managed. If you have an account with $1 million in it, it's at most $675 per year.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that that's that bad compared
No.
to
yeah.
what
Yeah.
what I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always astounded by how much a private special needs trust costs. That is one thing I'll say. We do have some individuals who do continue to have a private special needs trust because we are cash only. So for individuals who are expecting to, if they're going to be left a home or, property, stocks, bonds, things like that, unless they're cashed out, we only do cash. There's a question. Yeah, so deposits we're check only, so they do need to be checks sent by mail. We don't accept PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Again, if you want to do deposits a little more electronically, if you set up a bill pay with your bank, the bank will send us out a check in an amount of your choosing at a time of your choosing. And so you can set, the same amount for the same day if you like. You can have it be a one-time thing, but it does always need to be a paper check.
Awesome.
You said something about having an ABLE account and a DDETF and they play well together.
Yeah, they really serve two different purposes. So the trust fund is more of a long-term savings tool. And again, it's invested. So if you want to see that money grow over time, we're definitely the one to go with. Able is more of a day-to-day expenses. Again, you basically get a card that you use. The only problem with that is it's up to the individual to make sure that what they're spending their money on qualifies as a qualified disability expense. I know they're a little bit more lenient on what that term means. One reason that a lot of people have both accounts is because they are able to pay for housing costs. And so some people will have a trust account with especially let's say you come into 20 grand from an inheritance or a lawsuit. You can't put all that money into Able. They have a $17,000 annual limit. What you can do is you can put it into our trust and then as needed disperse it into the Able account. So you have that long-term savings tool, you have that, accumulating growth, the financial growth, but then you also still have you have your card on hand for, those day-to-day purchases you want to make and you don't want to, save all your receipts and submit them to us. So again, yeah, I don't know the exact number, but we have quite a few individuals who have both accounts. Um, and yeah, Able, it's a $17,000 annual cap. They do charge a percentage. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but there is no match on those fees. So it does cost to go with them.
And you might be able to pay for movie tickets or tickets to the amusement park with a DDETF, but maybe not with the ABLE.
Yeah, well, and with the Able, I mean, you could pay for all those things right then and there. With the trust, you'd basically pay for it with your own money, save the receipts, and then submit them with a disbursement request form. And again, I don't know, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the slideshow, but we can't make a check out directly to the beneficiary. So the beneficiary will have someone who will need to essentially, if possibly, pay for their expenses where we would reimburse them.
Okay.
So for Trust 1, the account owners will be the donors, the contributors.
Yeah, so whoever puts in that initial startup money, they'll be considered the primary donor.
Okay.
And then they can list whoever they want to represent the beneficiary. The beneficiary just can't represent themselves. Um, So, if you open the account, if you want to represent them, you're more than welcome to. If you want to choose a family member or a close friend, that's also fine. There's also a portion in the joinder where you have your alternates. So say someone passes away or someone goes missing, we're not able to get a hold of them anymore. You have people in place for if that ever happens to take over that representative role.
Okay. The alternates do not need like special power of attorney or something.
No, no, they just have to be over 18.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I can't think of any questions while I have you here, but I'm going to put your name as a contact on the email. And if anyone has questions, they can ask them to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my title with the trust is the enrollment coordinator. So I do all of the outreach. I basically go from, start to finish in the enrollment process. And then I'm also the financial assistant here for the Arc of Washington for the nonprofit that manages the trust. And yeah, so any questions you have, any resources that you need, yeah, you're more than welcome to email me or call me. And again, if you are interested in the program, reach out to me so I can send you the joinder agreement. The one we have on the website, the website is it's managed by the state, and so the forms are a little bit out of date.
Ah,
So if you message me directly, I can send you the most current forms, the most current information. And again, if you need me to, Zoom call, phone call, in person, we can walk you through the entire process.
okay. I'll be sure to reiterate that in the email to ask for the forms from you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And then, does anyone have any more questions for Dylan? If not, I'm gonna launch into, someone wrote me, thank you for a very informative presentation.
You're welcome. Thanks
Um,
for having me.
yeah, and then since we're thinking about the future, the next meeting is on guardianship with the Kitsap County Courthouse facilitators. So I believe they're doing a general overview, but there will be some Kitsap County specific information in that meeting. And that's the fourth Tuesday of September. I think that's the 26th. But I have dyscalculia and I could never be a financial advisor because I mix up my numbers. So thank you for all you do with all those numbers.
Thanks.
Um, and let's see. Is anything else going on? I had a whole presentation all prepared. Uh, I have to tell you all that there my Zoom is not going to be supported anymore, and we're going to be going to Teams in the coming year. She says they told me that I have until December, so be prepared for that. There's a bit of a learning curve, and you have to install it on your computer and on your phone if you that's how you dial in. It's not, you can't go through a browser. And the controls like chat and sharing and things like that are all in a different place than Zoom. So uh, by next meeting, I hope that I will have I'll have really easy page by page instructions on how to do that. And yeah, it is easy for some, but uh, usually when people install Teams, they're like, oh no, I forgot it was on Teams. And then they install it and you have to learn everything in the 5 minutes. It's pretty, it's a lot. Because yeah, every time I get on there, I'm like, you have to remember where their controls are versus Zoom's. Like driving a stick versus you know, automatic. It's a little different. Did I just age myself? Yeah. Um, if you give me grace, I'm gonna just pull up my little um PowerPoint to make sure that I'm not missing anything that we wanted to share. Um, there is a special needs resource fair at Kingston High, September 6th from 5 to 7, and I'll be there. It's not just for high school students, it's for anyone uh, wanting to, especially aimed towards people, uh, kids that are going to be transitioning to adults. But anyone's invited. And then there's another resource fair at Kitsap Community Resources, September 20th in Bremerton, September 21st in Port Orchard. And we have the schedule of the autism trainings, and I asked Monica to expand it out to autism and IDD. And she agreed with me that a lot of the concepts do apply. And the next one's going to be called Creating Independence and the Importance of Belonging. Um, and that's my little spiel. And all of that will be in the email that I'll send you when I return from vacation next week. And I usually stay to the bitter end. So Dylan, if no one has any questions for Dylan, you are free to go.
All right. Again, thank you for having me.
Oh, and I'm going to stop recording right now. I
Okay.
forgot. All right.